Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. It is Friday and I'm exhausted because I stayed up all night watching the WandaVision series finale. But there are other new releases I have to watch today, so I have to watch them. And one quick note, please consider subscribing because once I get to 100 subscribers, I'm going to watch The Room and I'm going to review it for you guys, which is widely known as one of the worst movies of all time. And once I get to 150 subscribers, I'm going to wear this to Walmart. I'm going to wear this, I'm going to wear my Spider-Man onesie, and I'm going to wear some slippers. So if you guys are interested in seeing this in Walmart, and I'm going to film it, I'm going to put it up there for you guys. That's once I hit 150 subscribers, I'm going to do this, okay? It's going to be insane, it's going to be hilarious, so please consider subscribing so we can get you this goal so I can wear this to Walmart. But we're not quite there yet, so we're just going to stick with what we're doing today. And today, we're going to be talking about Crisis. Crisis was released in 2021, and it was written and directed by Nicholas Jarecki. So, to give some background on how this movie was released, it was technically released a week ago in movie theaters. But I don't have a movie theater nearby because of the pandemic. I will be releasing a video about movie theaters in general next weekend, so make sure you guys are looking forward to that. So I had to wait until the release date for streaming, which was today, and then I rented it for $7 on Fandango Now, which is a great app for those of you guys who want to watch new releases when they come out, when they have streaming dates. I also have a bunch of other ones, like today I'm also going to watch Boss Level, but that's available on Hulu, so if you guys are interested in watching Boss Level, that will be on Hulu, and I'm going to be reviewing that later today. But today, this morning, I watched Crisis when I woke up. I only got like a couple hours of sleep because I was up really late with WandaVision. Go check out my WandaVision Episode 9 review, and also this weekend, I will have a WandaVision full season review with my buddy Julian, so look forward to that as well this weekend. So the idea behind Crisis is the same as most movies that I've reviewed in terms of new releases. Most of them have been about drugs, right? We had Body Brokers, which was about making money off of drugs and like the drug empire. Then we had Silk Road, which was about selling drugs online. And now we have Crisis, which is about essentially a drug epidemic that just gets worse and worse and worse, and people think they're trying to fix it, but they're not. It's a complicated movie in terms of how to explain it, because there's really 3 different storylines happening here, and none of them are very good, and none of them correlate with each other. It's a very unorganized movie, like extremely unorganized. It is dizzying at times thinking about like who's talking about who. They always use like these soft pronouns like he or she or they instead of mentioning the name. Like in the beginning of the movie they mention the name every single time, and then like after like the midway point they were like, oh yeah, he said this, and it's like, who's he, who, where are we? And it's a very, very confusing piece of film. It is wacky all over the place. It is hard to follow. None of the plots make sense. The only good part about this movie, in my opinion, is the phenomenal acting by some of the best actors, I think, in the business at this point. I really enjoyed the acting quite a lot, but unfortunately it was wasted on this movie. But I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into the acting, and then I'm going to talk about the individual storylines while I talk about the acting, because they involve these 3 characters. First, Gary Oldman as Dr. Tyrone Brower. So when you have someone like Gary Oldman, I mean, that's for one, it's selling tickets, right? There's no way it's not. But for 2, it's him, you know, it's Gary Oldman. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's literally amazing. I haven't seen anything with him that I didn't like yet. So, this I didn't like. I didn't like this movie. I think he was fantastic, particularly like towards the middle part of the end of the film, where you know he got really passionate about what he was saying. You could really see that he cared. Like not only did his character care, you could see that Gary Oldman was upset about the situation, because essentially his character is a scientist, and he discovers that this new drug is worse than OxyContin, but they're selling it as if it was better and not addictive. But he did a study on rats with the same drug and realized that it's actually way more addictive than OxyContin. So he goes to the FDA and he's like, hey, this is a problem. The FDA is like, nah, it's fine, and they release the drug. That's basically his entire storyline, but he gets very passionate about it because, obviously he doesn't want the drug to get into the public people, because once it gets there, there's going to be a lot of people dead. I think his character was really fun. The storyline was, again, really wacky, where, because he's also a professor at a university, and so he has to deal with, lawyers. I think his storyline was the most fleshed out than everyone else's, in terms of following it. It was pretty easy to follow, because it's a classic case of, oh, well, you can't disclose this information. And he's like, but I want to. And then he does. And then he gets fired. And the drug does get released. And the lesson there, they mentioned at the end of the movie with a floating monologue, which, again, all these movies are doing. They're doing this weird floating monologue thing at the end, which a lot of people do in the past, but, every movie coming out has, oh, and this happens at the end. And we're like, why can't we just see that? But whatever. It's not visceral enough to, I think, make the public want to make a difference about it. If you want to make a movie about drugs, it needs to be visceral, because if you make a soft drug movie, no one's going to want to change it, right? But if you make a drug movie about, everyone's dying and stuff like that, that's going to make people more aware of the issue. This just felt like a softball attempt at giving Gary Oldman a good role, and it was right. He had a good role. I think he did a great job. It's just his storyline wasn't very interesting. Armie Hammer as Jake Kelly. I've never watched a movie with Armie Hammer, and I'm pretty confident. I liked him a lot, though. I think he was really good. His character is a DEA agent who is also a drug dealer, which, of course, is classic. Really annoying, too, because you never know if he's on the right, the good side or the bad side. You still don't know by the end, technically. It's lots of ups and downs and wiggle waggles everywhere. No one knows what's going on at any point in the story. He's trying to sell these drugs with this person called Mother, and then he's trying to save face in front of the DEA, but they don't really seem to care. It's a wonky storyline, but very well acted is the thing. The acting is really solid in this film, but the storylines are really crazy. They don't even meet. Armie Hammer and Gary Oldman don't even meet in the movie. It's just two separate storylines that happen to be about a similar product, but have nothing to do with the actual story. They could have made two separate movies with both of these characters, and they probably would have been better, because we would have had one about the drug being a problem and it being, FDA approved, even though it's not, good. And then Armie Hammer's character about, being a DEA agent, although we've already had too many of those, in my opinion. So I think that there really is an issue of balance here between whose storyline's more important, where are they trying to go here, what's the actual meaning of the story, and we never really find out, which is a big problem. And finally, Evangeline Lilly as Claire Reinman. I've never actually seen Evangeline Lilly in anything except for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Ant-Man, of course, which I wasn't really happy with her performance in either of those films. But she was really good in this one. So her son dies of an overdose, even though she has no idea that he's doing drugs. She was a drug addict, and she's a recovering one now. And she basically goes on her own investigation to figure out why her son died, because she's like, well, there's no way he would have done drugs. And eventually she finds out that he was hanging out with a friend, and his friend hid the drugs in his backpack, and when Mother got upset because of the whole Armie Hammer thing about somebody, transporting drugs across the border and got caught, he decided to cut off loose ends and killed the person who had the drugs, which happened to be her son at the time. I think it was a really cool beginning part to her story. I wish she had more interconnectivity between Gary Oldman's character, maybe use her as a testimony, but they didn't, and they were like, oh yeah, and then she kills Mother in the end, and it's weird. It's a weird thing that they did. They're like, let's have this weird storyline that would be really great as its own standalone movie. I don't understand why they had to do that. We really could have had 3 separate really great movies, but instead we had one really not good movie, and that's a big problem. The acting is superb. She was fantastic. There's so many moments where she breaks down because her son's dead, and it's you feel for her. I almost cried. I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, oh, and then they just move on, and another character's there, and we're like, okay, but what about her character? They don't have equal screen time at all. It's really weird. I don't recommend this movie to people. If you wanted to watch it, I wouldn't recommend buying it or renting it right now. Wait till it's on a free service, because I'm assuming this will be on a free service at some point in the future. It's not worth $7 in my opinion. It's a mess. it's good if you like Gary Oldman, which I do, and just watching his acting and Evangeline Lilly and Armie Hammer, they're all great. But if you're watching this for a good story about drugs, you're just not going to find one here. So I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a C+. I'm not happy with this movie. I'm going to edit and upload this video, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I'm going to watch Boss Level, and then I'm going to release that later today. That is basically Groundhog Day with violence, from what I understand about it. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I'm excited to watch it regardless. So make sure you guys are looking into that. That will be available probably, let's see, about 4 or 5 o'clock-ish. So make sure you guys are looking forward to that. I'm excited for it. And please consider subscribing. Again, if you want me to wear this mask and all my other stuff to Walmart, I need to get to 150 subscribers, and I will upload that video, okay? So please consider subscribing. We're really getting somewhere. We're growing. It's been great. It's a wild ride so far. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, keep watching movies and television. Stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.